These are among the most dangerous and perilous times in our country's recent history. These times and these challenges demand a grown-up to be our candidate.
They used to attack Marco. Now it seems that they're all focused on Chris Christie.
Well, right now, the only establishment opening to win a state is somebody doing well enough in New Hampshire to finish second. That's the only opening if you look at the current data. And right now, because of the time he spent there and the fact that he is, I'll say again and again, the best brawler in American politics in a crowded field, he is the person who's moving.
Climbing in New Hampshire, Chris Christie gave a big speech at St. Anselm's a couple days ago where he took the establishment GOP to task and said, time to put this party back together again in order to beat Hillary Clinton. The party will have a hard time defeating Hillary with all of the money she's going to have, all of the Hollywood star power, the Obamas on the trail, the usual game playing that they do on the left, if the Republican Party is not united. I agree with that. The Republican Party has to unite. And like a lot of people listening to this show are fans of Cruz. A lot of Carson people are messaging me saying, what about Carson? I know you got a lot of Carly Fiorina people. Got Chris Christie fans, knowing that he's going to join us in just a moment. You're like, look at what Christie's doing in New Hampshire. He's changing the conversation there. Who's the best person to lead the party into the future? Very intoxicating to see what's happening at these Trump rallies. Very intoxicating for people who want the excitement. But I've been watching these streams that Mike sent over to me from Christie at these town halls. They're pretty impressive. Also off the cuff, not belaboring the notes of the teleprompters. And I think people are looking for that. They want people off these prompters and off the prepared text. Speak from the heart. What are you going to do for America? Joining us now, the aforementioned governor of the great state of New Jersey, Chris Christie. Governor, how are you, sir? Happy New Year.
Thank you, Laura. Happy New Year to you, too.
Okay, so they're all coming after you. Marco Rubio said you're too closely aligned with President Obama on gun control, on Common Core, and health care. So Marco Rubio, I mean, I haven't seen him that tough on anyone other than, pretty much other than Hillary. We'll play it. Let's listen.
This country cannot afford a president that's not going to reverse the direction Barack Obama's taken our country. We can't have another president that supports Common Core or gun control or expanding Obamacare. I mean, these are serious policy disputes, and there's nothing in those ads that's inaccurate. It's true.
Okay, they're spending money to try to knock you down in New Hampshire. Your reaction?
Listen, it's great news for me, Laura. Let Marco Rubio do that stuff. It's kind of interesting. I remember the Marco standing on stage, kind of lecturing Jeb Bush, saying, geez, I don't know who it was who told you, who convinced you that attacking me would help you. Well, I guess the same person has now convinced Marco that attacking me is going to help him. But the bottom line is that we've got a message that's resonating here because we're trying to include the whole party. We're trying to bring the whole party together. That was the purpose of the speech on Monday at St. Anselm's, to amplify the things we've been saying across New Hampshire. And I think that's why we're getting more and more support and why a lot of these folks who haven't been working hard are now taking shots at us.
Well, it's not just him. We got old Kasich out there. Apparently they have people going to actual snail mailboxes, and I didn't even know they still did that. They're putting flyers into mailboxes with pamphlets. I mean, yeah. I didn't even know they still did that. It says Chris Christie, tough talk, weak record, Governor. So old Kasich thinks he can get some traction here with the pamphlets.
Yeah, now, listen, the fact is that their messages aren't working. And it's the same thing with Jeb Bush. And now Jeb Bush is attacking me on guns. I mean, this is old-time, old-style politics from folks who don't understand that what this country really cares about right now is protecting American interests, protecting our lives at home, protecting and securing our borders, and making sure that we don't have open borders in this country, and protecting our economic future for a middle class that has seen their wages decline $3,700 during the Obama year. Obama years per year.
Oh my God!
Yes.
I don't think I even knew that.
$3,700. Yeah, $3,700 per year since the Obama administration took over. And so the fact is that's what they're concerned about. Those are the things I'm talking about, putting American interests first.
So how does this practically work? in New Hampshire, let's say you finish high. You win New Hampshire, you second place in New Hampshire, third place in New Hampshire. How do you see this all playing out? The conventional wisdom is Chris Christie has no operation beyond New Hampshire. You got nothing going down in South Carolina, Florida. How does that then work? Do you get Marco and Jeb to pour support to you? Do you get Kasich to say, look, John, you're nowhere here. Let's team up together. Do you try to get Cruz in you to team up against Trump? I mean, are you thinking in terms of strategy there?
Sure, of course. And I think part of what people always forget is that every time a group of people have an election, like Iowa or New Hampshire, and the results come in, things change. And so you're going to see this race, I think, after New Hampshire, Laura, go from 12 candidates down to 4 or 5. And that consolidation is going to lead to us getting different supporters, different staff on board, and different voters who are now available that were voting for other folks before. I really think that this is going to wind up coming down to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and me and Marco Rubio.
What do you think about?
And we're going to move to South Carolina.
What do you think about the Trump comments about Cruz's citizenship being born in Canada, and that might be a problem for him? What is your comment on that?
Well, it's tough for me to keep track because I know before Donald said that had all been checked out and it was no problem. He said that back in September when they were doing an immigration rally together. So I'm confused by what he's talking about. Listen, that's all distractions, and it distracts us from the main goal, which is to put the best person we can forward to defeat Hillary Clinton. That's what we need to be focused on. And, for Donald to be bringing up that stuff, quite frankly, I think that's a distraction that none of us need to be dealing with. I think Ted Cruz is a pretty good constitutional lawyer, and I think that folks understand that his mother is an American citizen. That makes Ted a natural-born American citizen. I'm not worried about that.
President Obama yesterday, when he announced the gun executive order, made a comment about the Constitution. Let's listen.
I believe in the Second Amendment. It's there written on the paper. It guarantees a right to bear arms.
The paper. Do you think George Washington, FDR, Kennedy, even Bill Clinton, the Constitution. Think about what went into writing the Constitution, defending it over the 2 centuries plus, and now it's the paper.
Yeah, listen, the Second Amendment's not the Second Amendment by accident, Laura. I don't think that the founders put all the different rights under the Bill of Rights into a hat and picked them randomly out of a hat to decide what order they came in. The First Amendment talks about freedom of religion, non-establishment of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly and association, the things that are the bedrocks of our freedoms in this country. And the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. I don't think that's an accident. And I think the president dismisses it as something written on a piece of paper because he is dismissive of the Second Amendment rights. And he's someone who has acted lawlessly throughout his entire presidency with his executive orders. And this is just another example of it.
Trump last night and others said that the president has, he has good intentions, but the wrong approach. What about the president's intentions? Are these good intentions?
No, I think he's wrong about that. The president's intentions are ill intentions. If the president had his way and was the king that he acts like at times, then he would take away guns. I have no doubt about that. He would be a gun confiscator, and he would think that would solve our problems in this country. So I don't have any doubt that the president's intentions are not good on this subject. Now, listen, everybody is upset about people who lose their lives to gun crime. But I'm upset about the people in Chicago who are going through a crime wave. And 18% the murders are up. In New York City, murders are up 11%. Why aren't we supporting law enforcement? We didn't hear the president talk a lick about that yesterday.
The St. Anselm's speech, you positioned yourself as the only person in the race who could really heal the rift in the party. The establishment is defined by Jeb and Marco for the most part, and then the Trump and the Cruz in the more kind of Tea Party populist side, and that the party needs to come together. Why are you the best person to do that? I can tell you, I've been talking about you for a long time on the show, and you and I have gone around on a bunch of issues, but I've made the point repeatedly that you have this natural, raw political talent. And you appeal to ethnics, you appeal to different people, and that people were railing against you as this conservative firebrand when you ran for election the first time, and even when you're running for re-election, still going after you for being conservative. But now all these people tweeting me, he's a rhino, Christie's a rhino, Christie's a rhino, why are you supporting a rhino? So all these people think you're a rhino, and then you're the guy to heal the party. To bring us some clarity here.
Here's the clarity is this. You got to look at what I've done and what I'm talking about doing. You know, Americans for Tax Reform said I've now vetoed more tax increases than any governor in American history. I'm a pro-life governor in one of the bluest states in America and have defunded Planned Parenthood for 6 years in a row now. We've stood up for the things that are principled issues in our state, reducing the state budget, reducing the state payroll, bringing fiscal sense to the state, reforming pensions, reforming teacher tenure. Those are all conservative principles that we've been fighting for as conservatives for decades against liberals. And as you said, I reach out to constituencies too that we have to have in the Republican Party. We have to do better among minority groups. If we don't, we're not going to do well in the national election. And you don't do that by changing your principles. You do it by going and listening to them and making them a part of the conversation, giving them a seat at the table. And we have done that in New Jersey. You know, I got 51% of the Hispanic vote in New Jersey in 2013. 22% of the African American vote, up from 9% 4 years earlier. And against a female opponent, and this is very instructive for what we're going to face in the fall, against a female opponent, I got 57% of the female vote in a state that has 750,000 more Democrats than Republicans.
I remember a couple years ago, back in 13, I think it was Newsweek called you a compromiser in chief. And basically saying, look, on issues like the in-state tuition for illegals, the DREAM Act, you kind of moved more to the middle or even to the left on some key issues that did make you more popular in New Jersey, which tends to be more liberal. So why is that not a fair charge? That when you were governor, you actually moved a little bit toward the left hand side of the equation on some key issues, like whether it's immigration or even on Medicaid expansion, and they make the point on gun control.
Well, let me say this. First off, what we've done in New Jersey is to do what's in the best interest of the people of New Jersey. And so on the issue of the DREAM Act, we pay more per pupil in New Jersey for K-12 education than any state in America. $17,700 per pupil per year. That's what our legislature has done over the course of time. And so what we've said about college education is we shouldn't stop at that point in making that more affordable and available to people. That's what's in the best interest of the people of New Jersey. That doesn't mean that's the kind of president that I'll necessarily be. I will serve the people who have elected me and make sure that I do that with principles that are really strong. And whether that's on abortion and Planned Parenthood, believe me, Laura, that wasn't moving to the left to be the first governor in New Jersey history.
Yeah, they hated you on the Planned Parenthood thing. They hated you on that.
Right, and so believe me, taking on the teachers union and reforming teacher tenure so teachers now, if they have 1 year of a failing evaluation in New Jersey, can be fired, and taking on the union interest in that way and getting that done with a Democratic legislature, that's hardly moving to the left. When they call me a compromiser, I will compromise on things that we need to get done, but I will not compromise my principles.
Did Jeb and Rubio, those guys, call you ever and say, like, let's think about step 2, 3, and 4 together? I mean, any outreach there from Jeb to you?
No, the only outreach are their negative ads.
Well, and
that's it.
And you called Marco's latest hit on you sliming his way to the White House. You know what maybe you should do? You should send over to Marco some of that green slime they use on that Nickelodeon Kids Award. You should send him a big canister of that.
Exactly right. Listen, and this is, and I don't mind. Listen, I've been in very tough races before. John Corzine spent $33 million in negative ads against me in 2009 as an incumbent governor. He came after a challenger with $33 million in negative ads. This isn't my first rodeo, and if Marco Rubio thinks by putting out a couple of negative ads on me that somehow he's going to intimidate me, it just shows how inexperienced he is and how unprepared he is to be our candidate against someone like Hillary Clinton. You want someone on that stage against Hillary Clinton who has been through the wars, not somebody who's a first-term United States senator who has never had a tough race in his life. This guy has been spoon-fed every victory he's ever had in his life. That's the kind of person that we want to put on the stage against Hillary Clinton? I don't think so. She'll pat him on the head and then cut his heart out.
Well, I actually can envision that almost. I mean, metaphorically, of course.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. I can imagine that,
Yeah.
Governor Christie. Governor Chris Christie here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Hey, Governor, I'm sure we'll talk to you before New Hampshire and before the next debate.
Oh, yes.
You'll be on the debate stage, no doubt, obviously, with where you are in
No
New
doubt.
Hampshire. And we wish you the best out there. Thanks so much.
Laura, thanks for having me on the
All
program.
right, Happy New Year. We'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show.